Hey, this is Rob. This is episode 49 of the Folly Coffee Podcast. Let's get it brewing. We have a celebrity in the house.
Oh my gosh.
I just want any excuse to use my new DJ button.
That's perfect.
I'm sitting here with Katy of Angel Food Bakery, owner of Angel Food Bakery. You may have seen her on Beat Bobby Flay, or much more recently, Chopped Sweet Edition, where, is it, spoiler alert still, or if you haven't seen it, but where you won Chopped Sweet, which was awesome.
Crushed it.
Which is so surreal. It's funny because the first time I watched the episode by myself, I was just like, this is dope. Like, go Katy, go Katy. And then I watched it with Nikki, and she was like, that's Katy. She's on TV, but like real TV. Like, that's for real.
That's
like,
how I feel watching it. I'm like, who is that? That's me.
It is
that's
super
so weird.
bizarre. And it's like you're playing a video game and like you made a character. You're like, oh, it's the person's there.
Yes.
That was so cool.
And it's very surreal to like they show things that you say and you're like, that's definitely me saying that. I don't remember that. Do not remember saying that. Okay. I guess it's true.
I texted you this, but I loved in the episode. I feel like everyone's always like, I just want everyone to do well.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just here. I'm just happy to be here. And then it cuts to you and you're like, win. I like to win. I want to win here.
What? I mean, okay. Well, I will say that like the format of these shows is straight up my alley. Like I just love that challenge. Like you have a time constraint. You have a box that you have to fit within, but break out of it and be really creative. And it just, if you just said, here's 4 hours, do whatever you want, I'd be like a disaster. But if you say 45 minutes, you have to make this, here's 4 ingredients, then that like gets all your creative stuff going.
Mm-hmm.
So just doing those kind of shows, I really like it. Like, I don't, you know this, like way back in the day, I did Project
Runway.
Yeah, I know. And everybody's like, are you sad you got kicked off? I'm like, I'm honestly just sad that I missed out on all the challenges.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't care about winning the whole thing. I just wanted to do all the cool, fun things.
Anyone listening who's unfamiliar with your past is like, wait, what are we talking about right now?
Sorry, I jumped ahead. But the whole point of it being like, yes, I want everybody to do well. I don't want anybody to go down in flames, but I'm there for a reason, and that's to have fun and win. So
that's how I feel. I go, I want everybody to do their best, and I also win.
Like I want them to do their best, but I want to be better than them. I feel like that's normal.
So, because it's just such a funny sentence when you go, oh, well, I started my TV
I don't know.
with Project Runway, and anybody, like, I thought this was a baker we were talking to. How do you find yourself in a position that you end up on Project Runway in the first place?
Yeah. So my previous life, coming out of college, I was a clothing designer. I designed for Target for a while and for some other companies and had my own stuff for a while. And really wanting to kind of break into my own clothing line, I thought Project Runway would be fun to do. Honestly, I had zero chance of making it in my mind. It was just kind of a whim. I got a really cheap ticket to Miami to try out. Literally called in sick. Didn't tell anybody I was going. Flew down there. Flew back the next day. Had made the first cut, and I was like, what just happened? Like,
what is the tryout for Project Runway like?
Well, I don't know. I mean, now I don't know, but this is dating me way back to season 3. So you had to go and stand in line, and they cut people out of the line. Like, they would look at your portfolio and be like, nah, get out of here.
At least they're looking at portfolio. I thought you were going to say they just look at you and be like, nah.
They might. I don't know. But they do it really slyly. So they were cutting you. And then when you make it in before the judges and they talk to you and they look at your samples. And then by the end of that, you are told, like, you made the next cut. You have 48 hours to go home, film a 5-minute video of you and your life and show us everything that makes you interesting. And you have to get it to us. And this is way before video was so accessible. I mean, I think I was still on iPhone 1, you know? So I had to fly home. I hadn't told anybody, and all of a sudden I needed help making a video, and I started telling people, and it was weird. And then you have to go through psychiatric evaluations. So they flew me to New York for a day to go through therapy sessions and do these big, I don't even know, MMA, some kind of therapy test where it asks you 600 questions, and it's crazy. It's like, are you, like one of the questions were, it's like, are you abnormally fearful of snakes? I'm like, I don't think I like snakes, but I don't.
What is an appropriate level of fear?
Yeah, and the answers are all yes or no. And I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't know how to answer this.
I know the test you're referencing. I had to take it in college.
It's like a multiphasic.
And like halfway through, you're just like half reading, half in a daze.
You get like 30 questions in about your dad. I'm like, can I just write like I love my dad and like get this over with, like please. So that, and then I got a call from Tim Gunn one day, and I think that was like Friday. On a Monday, I was flying to New York to do the show.
And to do the show, did you have to quit your job?
Yep. Well, I mean, yeah.
So if you got the news on a Friday, how'd you let them?
I let them know that day. I'm crying, and you're not supposed to tell anybody. It's like fines of millions of dollars if you tell anybody that you made the show. And so I'm going in. I'm like, I have to go leave. Like, I don't know when I'll be back, and I just need to quit. And
you're not even allowed to tell people you're on it.
Oh.
So you had to quit, and they'd be like, "Why?" You're like,
they were like freaking out. They were like, "Are you sick? Like, are you dying? Like, what's happening to you?" I'm like, I'm going somewhere.
I can't say.
I can't tell you. And immediately they sent out like a resignation email to the team, and one person popped her head over the cubicle and was like, "You're on Project Runway, aren't you?" I'm like, and I'm a really bad liar, so I'm like, "No, why would you think that?" And she's like, "She's on Project Runway. It's fine." I'm like, I didn't tell you. Like, I didn't say anything.
I'm going to email you right now to get it in writing.
Yeah. Touche. So I did that, and I think I was really too nice. Like, I was like the Midwestern girl on the show. Mm-hmm. So I was like the nice girl that, everybody, going back to it, everybody was doing great. I don't know if I'm the best. Like, it's all this sort of stuff. So I think the producer's like, get her out of here. Like, she's boring.
It's like a combination of, obviously, the talent for the design, but also it's a TV show. It's entertainment.
Show. Like they absolutely, all these shows cast people. Like they're not, the Chopped is not picking the best 4 bakers that they found. Like they're casting these episodes. So they're finding the best 4 that can do a birthday theme, which is the theme, and then they're casting, they can't all have 4 short, dark-haired girls from the Midwest. Like, that they need to have like the crazy guy and then the sassy one and the sweet one, So I got to be the like kind of bitchy one.
On Chopped.
On Chopped. It's great.
And so was that learned from your Project Runway experience, or do you think it's just time?
A little of both.
Yeah.
I mean, being a business owner, you end up just becoming more direct. Like you don't have time to just be nice and casual about everything. Like sometimes I'm just like, I just need this done now. And
at what point from getting cut in Project Runway, so you quit your job, you go on Project Runway, you get cut. What is your life after that?
Well, it's a secret for a long time, because people don't know that you're on, and then it's so surreal. Like it airs 6 months to a year after that, so all of a sudden there's all this hype and excitement about it, and you live kind of that like weird.
So people thought you just out of the blue quit your job and were just like roaming around.
Yeah, I don't know what they thought, but they figured it out, and I started doing my own design. I started freelancing for some big companies. I continued to freelance for Target. And at the time, for me, I was interested in like branching out with trying something different, but I didn't want to just like quit and be like, screw you guys, because it's a great company and I liked who I worked with. So it felt like the best way to like not burn that bridge. It'd be like, well, I got on Project Runway, so I had to quit, and then explore my other options. And if I totally failed at life after that, then I felt like I could go back, like kind of holding on to the like blankie,
Oh, so you kind of, when knowing it's coming out 6 months from now, you're kind of going, I'm gonna wait until this comes out to like some of the publicity may help for future work and all that. That's
what I was kind of hoping is like, if I start my own thing and this publicity happens and I'm doing freelance and people know who I am, I can get more business. But if I really suck at this and hate it, like I can go hang and grovel and get my job back.
Okay, I'm with you now.
So it was kind of a little like figuring out gameplay, I guess.
What was it like when the show launched?
It was crazy. Like red carpet stuff and Heidi Klum inviting you to her Halloween birthday or Halloween party, which I should have gone to, but I didn't have any money. So It's nuts. It's still weird. I mean, this is 15 or 16 years later, and I'll still get recognized from that, which is insane.
It's wild.
I don't think I look if you look at pictures, I don't feel like I look the same at all. But people are like, "Oh, weren't you on that like clothing show?" And I'm like, oh, "That's so weird." Or like, I think the weirdest moment was I went to like a movie. There was like a $1 a night movie night, whatever. Went to a movie, and the next day in Star Tribune in the like gossip column, it was like, Katy Gerdes of Project Runway was cited at movie, seemed to enjoy it. I was like, come on now. Like,
really?
What? Yeah. I was like, that's weird. Yeah, it was a good movie. I mean, that was weird.
Who was watching me to see if I seemed to enjoy the movie?
So then I like freaked out. I'm like, well, am I going to be eating dinner somewhere and there's like food in my teeth and now people are...
that would make me so anxious.
It was honestly... like... It was at the time when Britney Spears was having her first total meltdown. Mm-hmm. And I had the moment where I'm like, I understand. Like, I'm nobody. I am nobody. I am like 14th place on like a fashion reality TV show. And people are already like, she liked that movie and talking about it. Like, what would it be like to be really famous? That's crazy. Like, I could see just losing it. Like, sorry. This is not where you thought this was going.
I'm trying to picture going to a movie and someone writes about it. And you're just, it's like, it's such a violation of just like, let me watch a movie.
That's what we do to celebrities all day, every day. Like, no wonder they get angry and like try to fight back.
Yeah, that's what we're saying about seeing you on the TV. It's like, to me, it's like, that's Katy on the TV. To someone else, that's just like, oh, that's a personality on the TV.
That's just,
Once it's like the joke about Real World that the first couple seasons were like normal people, and you're like, oh, this is just what would happen if you took a group of people that didn't know each other and they lived together. And then 5 seasons later, it's like every single person has to. It's like, oh, you're this person, you're that person,
and they're all like aspiring actors and
all on the edge of teetering on insanity, so that it makes really good TV, but you start to not think of them as people anymore. You start to think of them as personalities.
Yeah.
And I've run into it on a very, very, very small scale where somebody will be like, oh, do you do the Instagram? And I'm like, yeah, I promise I'm not really always like that.
You're not always like,
but it's especially with like me and Jeff, because I always we lean into that hard, that it's like Jeff is super laid back and I'm always wired.
Yeah.
And so
our normal personalities are not exciting to watch. And that's in general of people around the world. Like, your normal day is not that exciting. Mm-hmm. And so to be exciting to watch on TV or on Instagram or something, you have to be like bigger. Your emotions have to be bigger, and you have to.
It's so hard to capture attention.
Yeah.
I always say, I was like, I'll make an ass out of myself if I'll get somebody to watch this video for 5 seconds, get the message across. When did you go from Project Runway and designing to a bakery?
Okay. So I always liked baking. As a kid, I picked it up. I just started like practicing. I don't have a good story about why. Like, I don't have a grandma none of my grandmas baked. My mom didn't bake. Like, nobody did that. Honestly, I had probably just wanted to eat cookies one day. Like, fat kid for life. So I always liked baking. During high school and college, those were my summer jobs, just because I was like, I need a 3-month summer job, and I can talk myself into any job because I work hard and people see that. So I started to learn how to be a professional at it, but then that was not, like, at that time in 1999, like, being a chef was not a thing. It wasn't a career that you aspired to be. Like, now it is. It's like Food Network, and now people want to do this, but at the time it was like, oh, you're too dumb to get a real job is kind of like the mentality.
You call somebody like a cook versus like a chef, or like the celebrity chef status and those kind of things. Yeah.
So being a professional baker had never, ever crossed my mind. And I was always into art and being creative. And I knew I was going to go to an art school and do photography. And then I switched from photography to fashion design because I got bored. Story of my life is basically because I got bored. Working title. So clothing was my career. And then, like, on a not as funny side is I really suffered with the fashion industry from a personal level, like self-esteem was really low from the industry. I mean, it is what you think it is. At the time, you know, coming out of the 90s and into the 2000s, it was still like, who is the most skinny person out there? Who is the most rich person out there? Like now it seems to be a lot more about like body image acceptance and all sizes are beautiful, but that was not the case at the time. And I just really kind of got to a low point where I'm like, I love my job of designing things, but I don't love how this all makes people feel.
Is that something people talked about at the time, or
No.
is that you just deal with it?
You just dealt with it. You just tried to be prettier than the next person, or tried to be skinnier than the next person, or tried to, you know, not eat. Like, you know, I mean, I remember in fashion design program in school, and it was like you aspired to be that girl that just had half an apple at lunch, you know, and I'm like, man, I really like food though. Like, it's kind of nice. So I was doing the clothing design, and I love making things. Mm-hmm. And I just didn't like that industry. And so I wanted to get out, and I was doing freelance, which was good, but I wasn't bringing in enough money. And I was like, I just need a part-time job to kind of like pay rent. And I was like, I could talk my way back into a bakery, and got a job, and then just kind of turned that into a career. It was like, oh, this is really fun. I need to learn more, and just continued working. And at the time, a few years after that, my mom and her husband started a restaurant, Hell's Kitchen. And they went from just like a breakfast lunch place to all of a sudden they got a different space, and they brought in dinner, and they needed a pastry chef. And my mom has always been like anti-nepotism. She's like, you can't work for me. It's not a family business. And then her husband, my stepdad, was like, can I swear on this thing? Yeah. Okay. I don't know. But he swore all the time, and he's like, fucking Katy, hire her. She's the best. And I'm like, you don't have to do that. And he's like, I'm gonna fucking hire you because you're my stepdaughter. He's like, I want you working in my kitchen. So I got to build a pastry program there, and out of that kind of came the bakery, because I made a joke one day, and I was like, we're out of space, so I should open a bakery. And then here we are.
And then you looked around and went,
Yeah. I really honestly was like joking, and then a year later we opened Angel Food.
Yeah, well, knowing your personality is because I've run into people on both sides of the nepotism thing. I've run into people that you see the last name's the same, and you meet them and you see their work ethic, and you're like, oh, I see what's going on here. There is
it's definitely there.
Yeah, but on the other side with your personality, I think, and I would operate somewhat the same, in the sense that like, oh, I have to work extra hard just so that everyone around me doesn't think I'm that person. Like
Absolutely.
you have to do an extra level of work so that people around, because you're held to a different standard by your peers.
Yeah.
And I think generally the people where the nepotism thing, they don't care what their peers think about them, and they take advantage of that, versus knowing you, it's like hard work is like the number one thing on your life resume, I think.
If that's not working, I'm going to work harder.
Yeah. When COVID went down, and you were just working by yourself, just baking around the clock, you were the person that I was thinking about when I'm like, this is hard, but I'm not working that hard for sure. Like she's getting less sleep than me somehow.
Yeah, that. I mean, it's still rough.
Yeah.
But that was rough.
Yeah.
I think over the first 6 weeks of COVID shutdown, I was averaging 100 hours a week for 6 weeks straight.
We're going to get back to this because this is way ahead, but I want to get to what it was like opening. And so the brand Angel Food is obviously a play on Hell's Kitchen. Was that kind of the idea, or was it just totally separate?
It was, so again, it was kind of like a joke of opening a bakery, and I didn't have any ideas of what it would be or why, but really, really, truly, Hell's Kitchen outgrew their space, and they needed more kitchen space, and I was doing all this pastry and bread and all this stuff for the program, so I was like, well, if I open a space and can cater it, wholesale it back in, and there just happened to be this empty kind of kitchen space above Hell's Kitchen. It was like a pizza takeout at some point 6 years before we opened. It had been empty forever, and we talked to our landlords, and they were great, and it just kind of turned into this option. So then we were like, it's really, really cheesy to be like, heaven over hell. You know, like, that's dumb. So we put out a Facebook poll at the time we didn't say where. Mm-hmm. We just said, if we open a bakery, Hell's Kitchen opens a bakery, and here are like 6 names. And I think there was like Blackbird Bakery or, you know, whatever. There was a couple Heaven Plays and a few other ones. And it was like 85% of the votes said Angel Food. I was like, okay. Well, that seems cheesy to me, but okay.
Because it didn't even occur to me the relation of the name Angel Food to Hell's Kitchen, but I think that's why it works. Is because the name Angel Food stands on its own. It's not like
I hope so.
Don't worry, I probably wouldn't say it to your face if it didn't. But no, we can go through names I don't like off the mic. Perfect. But no, the name holds on its own. But it is cool that the backstory plays into it. Yeah, that the dynamic there works.
And they are two, and always have been two completely independent companies of each other. But obviously, there's a family tie there, and we do work with each other frequently. So it is kind of like cool to have it play back and forth. But I think, like, we were a little worried about the name going when we opened up the airport location, just being like, can we stand our own without Hell's Kitchen? You know, at the time we were like, are we capable of doing this without the draw of Hell's Kitchen's audience? And so it was really, really cool to see that we were capable.
Yeah, clearly as named the hot local concept in 2018 by the airport.
Yeah, we won best quick service in all of North America
in 2017.
Yes, yeah. So
I read, but I forgot what the name was.
I don't know. Yeah, it's really like best quick service food and beverage concept in all of North American airports. It's like a very long title. When we won, I told my dad, and he's like, "That's cool, best one at the airport." I was like, "North America, Dad."
That's so sick.
He's like, "What does that mean?" I was like, "Every airport in North America, we're the best one." And he's like, "Oh, that's cool." And I'm like, "Yeah, thank you."
So what I know Angel Food for, or I think like famous for, like your donuts, your bright colors, your cakes, going from doing the pastry program at Hell's Kitchen to what I think I would consider you known for at this point. How did that come to be?
Oh, that's a really good question.
Was that something that you already loved going into it, or it just happened?
It's really grown organically. There was never a point where I was like, this is our brand and this is what I'm going to do for it. It just kind of, it was things I was playing with and ideas. And, you know, before we opened the baker, we started talking about like what kind of special products could we come up with that we could be known for. And that's where the message donut, happy birthday donuts came from. And those, I mean, if I showed you photos, like they have transitioned over the years in style and the way we do it. So it just evolved kind of. And really my biggest goal with the bakery is I didn't want to be another like cutesy cupcake shop. Like there's so many and they do so well. Or there's like 2 genres of bakeries in my mind. There's like the mom and pop, like they've been doing this for 80 years and you know what you're picturing in your head right now. And they're great. And then there's like the cutesy cupcake shop where they're pink and girly and frilly and everything. And that's just not me.
Adults acting like kids, all that good stuff.
Yeah. And, you know, it was just that's not my style. Like not all bakers fit into that style. And so I was trying to figure out like, how can Angel Food be a little bit different and not be that like cute. Like our number one rule is there's no like cheesy angel decor. Like you know, there's like there's one sculpture of this like woman with these big wings that my mom put in there and loves, and I've been like trying to get rid of it for 8 years. Sorry, Mom. But otherwise, like there's no like angel logo or anything. You know, like, that's too cutesy. So I don't know.
Because I think it's so hard in food and beverage to create truly unique products. But
oh my gosh,
things like your donut cake. It's funny because my mom sent one to my sister's office for her birthday.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
And this is like a year ago. And I guess it would have been March because that's second because that's her birthday.
There you go.
Oh wow, that was right
before the show. Right, it's in the end of the before.
Yes, but my sister said the strangest thing happened that cakes happen for birthdays all the time there, and they never get fully eaten because everybody's like, it's a cake. I don't need more cake. But because it was a donut cake, she was like, that thing was gone in 15 minutes.
Oh, yay.
And I was like, why do you think that? I don't know. It's like, it's different. It's just different than cake. And it's like every sheet cake is going to be basically the same thing. But that one came in and she said that was gone in like 15 minutes. She barely got a piece for herself.
Oh, well, that makes me happy. Not that she didn't get a piece. But.
Yeah, that. And then the messaging donuts is like such a simple execution of an awesome, great execution of a simple idea. But
Thanks.
like, I think it is like people are like, what can I do that I'm not sending somebody a full cake or something?
We definitely try to think about that, especially now with shipping, because not everybody's sending something to 13 people. Like you don't need a huge thing. So how can you get a special thing for 4 or 5 people that are in the house? The cake came out like when we started with weddings. I distinctly remember our very first donut wedding. It was our first year open, and they came to me and they're like, would you do an all donut wedding? I'm like, yeah, of course. And they're like, everybody thinks we're crazy. And I'm like, screw them. Like, it's your wedding. Like, I don't care. So we did a whole like buffet of donuts, and then they wanted a donut cake. And so at the time I stacked like a bunch of powdered sugar donuts so they looked like a tiered cake. I was like, oh, cool. So we started doing that more and more for people. And then we had a couple come in a few years later and they were like, we want a donut cake. I'm like, yep, absolutely. Got you. And they're like, no, like, one that looked like it's like a layer cake. I was like, I don't know what you're talking about.
You're saying words together.
You're saying words, but I don't know what you mean. And so then from there, again, going back to the chop thing, like they gave me a parameter and they were like, we don't know what we're talking about. Figure it out. I was like, cool. Okay. I have rules. Now what do I do with that? And
I need to start talking to more people having weddings. I was just telling you I had Brett on from Maddie and Maze with his popcorn.
Yeah.
And his original concept was he wanted there to be popcorn weddings and
they do that, don't they?
Not really.
Oh.
But
okay.
That was the joke. Don't worry. He knows how that idea worked out. But
like a popcorn bar at a wedding would be really cool. Like late night snack.
And that was his idea, but I think it's too far from what people are looking for. But it led to him creating the birthday cake flavor of his popcorn, which is one of his best sellers. Yeah. And so having someone say, can you create this? And then him kind of creating a flavor through weddings. It's a funny coincidence because I just talked to him a few days ago.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's like, I don't know if all creative people are identical. So no, I don't know if they all think this way, but for me, it's so hard to just come up with a new idea right now. And you're like, I don't know, what am I going to do? But if somebody comes to me with, we want a giant donut cake thing, then like the creative juices or whatever start flowing and you're like, okay, how can I solve this? It's kind of like solving a logic problem. Like, how can I put all these pieces together and it makes sense and looks good and tastes good? And so.
And with all that being said, because sometimes I think you see businesses that look really good on Instagram, then you taste it and you're like, oh, okay, well, it looked really cool. Yeah. And people go there to take pictures and that's it. But
I have some in mind.
The execution, so do I, don't worry. The execution of the simple things, because I think the best thing on your menu is the cruller. Yes. That's the best thing on the menu, and I will defend that to the death.
I will not fight you on that.
You make it in the traditional way. It's perfect, and I don't ever eat donuts except when I used to deliver to Angel Food. When it was,
you donuts.
And don't worry, I'll be eating that one. That's what I'm saying. But that is such a key thing to this all working. I think is that it's called a gimmick what you want, the letters in the cake, but then you eat the donut, you're like, oh, but this is also really tasty.
Well, that's my I don't want to serve a shitty product, and it certainly happened. We've made mistakes, and I feel terrible about it. Like, we're selling a good donut, and regardless of the Instagrammable quality of it, and a cruller to me is, there's so many things in baking that a lot of bakeries just, and I don't want to sound judgy on this because I'm not, because there's reasons for everything, but a lot of bakeries just buy the bag of vanilla cake mix just like you would buy a box of Betty Crocker, and you add a little oil and some water and you've got cake. And because of that, like, crullers are the same way. There's a bag of mix that you use and it deposits it, and so most people are used to eating basically the same product regardless of where you've been. And that's around the country. So you could go to Florida and have the cruller that tastes like a place in Minnesota because it's the same national distributor and it just tastes the same. But if you can kind of go back to the original like heritage of it and go back the way it really was made in the beginning before somebody mass produced the like cheaper, faster route. And I will say, like, making crullers by hand kind of sucks. I distinctly remember the first 6 months at the airport, and I'm like, I am hand piping like hundreds of these a day. Like, this hurts. Like, I am tired of this. I don't want to do this. But that's the product, and I really think the cruller for us shows the difference.
Yeah,
like that's a distinct difference from what you get at the gas station.
It's what I do when I find a new place. Is I always order something really simple, because that's kind of how you figure out is the detail still there. And sometimes latte art in the coffee world is a really, really comparable thing. So originally latte art was supposed to show that you've got a well-served beverage, because when you have contrast between a properly steamed properly steamed milk and espresso, you're able to, when you finish the pour, there's contrast in the milk. It shows that it's properly steamed.
I had no idea.
So
that was fancy.
Yeah, so really it just started as when you finish pouring a latte, you would simply leave a dot on the top, a little circle. This shows this is properly steamed milk. Then people realized we can do art with this. This is really cool. And then it shifted where people started caring more about, and then with the birth of Instagram, latte art has become everything.
Yeah.
And so now there are people with terrible coffee and a terrible product that looks amazing. And funny enough, with something like coffee, can actually keep some shops alive if they have some amazing latte artists.
Yeah.
But then you drink it and you're like, this doesn't taste good though. And you've gone away from what the original mission of that is. And especially with baking, you see like the competition cake shows.
Oh my God, I can't. Don't start me on that.
You seem like sticking stuff in and like styrofoam. And I'm just like,
that's not cake. You're a really good sculptor.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm like, it's kind of just, it's like if you used a really nasty clay that, with like wooden sticks in it. And but
what was do you remember there was a modeling clay when we were kids?
Play-Doh?
No, it was like nicer than that. And they came in like little cubes of it and bright colors and stuff, but it reminds me like what you could do with that, and then it would dry and harden into whatever shitty creation you 8-year-old made. But every time I see somebody like doing one of those cake sculpture things, it reminds me exactly of that. I'm like, that just, for me, it's not appetizing. Like, I don't want that cake. I don't want to do that. It's great. Like, there's really skilled artists that do it, but I just don't. I wouldn't put it in baking category.
Fair enough. And it's like no.
Now I'm like, oh no, I'm being a jerk.
no. It's because I feel the same way. I kind of feel like I'm just watching an art show of like not great art. Yeah. It's like in between. It's like off art or like weird cake.
Yeah. It is also like with that, and I don't know if this translates to latte art as much, but maybe. But like for Instagram and bakers, there's so many amazing food stylists out there that make these just gorgeous art pieces out of food. Maybe that's food, and then that sets that expectation for reality for people. Mm-hmm. So then they come to us and they're like, I just have a simple cake request for tomorrow. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, that's kind of under our deadline of 48 hours, but sure, what do you have? And they're like, I just want a 3-tiered Lilo and Stitch like sculpted cake with like that's not simple.
No, it's super comparable. There are people in the coffee world that are famous for their latte art, but you get unrealistically large pitchers, and then you steam way, way more milk than you would ever possibly need for the drink, because it's always kind of like the milk that you're pouring in the middle of the pour is the best for it. And so if you were to pour it all out, that like very end of it's not going to be great for latte art. And so you see people with like these huge pitchers full of milk, and they're pouring some out so they can get the perfect angle, and then they do it, and then they're pouring out another 2 lattes worth of milk, and you're going, you would go out of business as a shop if you did that, because you're using 3 to 4 times the milk you need, and then you can't have a 60-ounce pitcher to pour.
And everybody's angry because they just waited 40 minutes for a cup of coffee.
Yeah, and but there are places that like that's their thing, and that's what you do, and it is actually viable. And I'm sure you think the same way in the cake world, that it's like there are places that's all they sell, and it's a really good. They're doing really well.
And there's a lot of people that do want that sculpted cake, and by all means, the places that do it, they put so much effort into it and have at it, but it's not my thing. And
what was
I
it
don't like it.
to shift back to the opening of the second location in the airport? I know we've discussed this, and we were super excited to be serving coffee in the airport until
One
about
day
a
again.
month before. Man, the timing of everything for us has just been wonderful.
Yes, no, it's really exactly how I thought this would all go.
Oh, and you got your custom cups in right
Yep.
before this all went down. That was super cool.
Yep. I currently am the proud owner of like 15,000 coffee cups.
They're beautiful cups.
They're gorgeous.
They're great cups, if that makes you feel better.
No, they're gorgeous.
Do cups expire?
No.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah, no, they're there, and they're compostable, so hopefully nothing is happening in the storage unit.
Yeah, you go and there's just its own ecosystem of mice, a rat colony.
A storage unit of compostable paper weirdo stuff. No, we're good. We have pest control, so it's fine. I also, like, in my super random, so we make this fruitcake each year for the holidays, just because I know you're going to want to try this.
Okay.
And
I'm immediately skeptical.
No. Okay. So fruitcake has a bad rap. Totally understand why. There's this old school recipe where it's like real fruit and nuts and stuff in it. We've sold it the last few years at Christmas. It's great. We douse it in like Grand Marnier and rum, and it's got a lot of booze in it. Not for children. So we always age it about at least a month, which you need to so let the flavors mellow.
Mm-hmm.
And then last year, this like old family friend was like, well, you know how they used to age fruitcake? The longest aged fruitcake ever was 25 years. I'm like, no way. Like, what? Nobody's going to eat that. And he talked about how they used to age fruitcake in powdered sugar, because powdered sugar is a preservative. And as long as there's not air in there, in theory, it preserves it. So last year we shipped them for the first time, and I because you have to like prepare ahead of time, I wildly overestimated how many we were going to ship.
Mm-hmm.
My bad. So we now have like 70 loaves sitting in barrels of powdered sugar just to see how they age over the year. Yep.
Okay, yeah, I am intrigued.
Yeah, see? So as I say, no, we have pest control.
Why does fruitcake have such a bad rap?
Because there's like junky ingredients in it. And
have you heard the Jim Gaffigan little bit about it? He's like, fruit, good. Cake, great. Fruitcake, nasty crap.
Yeah. The like maraschino cherries on it and stuff is just, I don't know.
It's probably just people making cheaper and cheaper versions just because it's popular over the holidays.
So. Like this has like all sorts of like figs and apricots and 2 different kinds of raisins. And, if you don't like dried fruit, then you're shit out of luck. Yeah, so we're now on going into 1 year of aging it, and I think it's safe. I keep checking I don't want to open it.
You'll just have me taste it first.
Yeah.
How do you feel?
How do you feel? Are you alive? Well, my husband Chris he's such a whiskey guy, and he is just like, oh my God, you can only open like 1 barrel this year, and then the next year you have to like start more, and then in 5 years, and in 20 years, I'm like, I don't want to deal with this in 20
Well, you
years.
could have Chris test it because he's got the iron gut.
Yeah, he will. He will absolutely. He'll be the first person because nothing kills him. I have tried. I love you.
He's trying himself with his.
He's making
hashtag shit Chris eats.
Yup. Anyways, back to coffee cups and the airport.
Yeah, that's how this started.
Sorry,
the timing is good. Cups, all that good stuff.
Yep, going exactly how I planned.
Was the airport something you had planned and had in mind, or was it an opportunity that arose?
It was absolutely an opportunity. I had not planned a second location. I was still trying to figure out my first location. And the president of Hell's Kitchen at the time, he looked so. Unknowing to me and most people, the airport spots go up for bid every 10 years. So all those shops have a 10-year lease. And in 10 years, it's called a right for proposal. It goes out to bid if you're there. Like the last round, French Meadow was there forever. They rebid it as, what's the other one they own? Whatever, it opened up again. But basically they reconceptualized it, rebid, and they won that bid again. So new people couldn't come in, they got it. But they could have been out because they lost. A lot of places did. So the president of Hell's Kitchen at the time heard about it and was really interested in Hell's Kitchen bidding for one of the restaurant locations. And so obviously my mom being the owner of Hell's Kitchen, I heard her talking about pros and cons and is this something she wants and all this sort of stuff. And I'm behind her being like, Mimi, I want it. I want that. Can Angel Food do that? And so that's just kind of like me pressing him being like, how do I get in on this? And so we were vetting you have to work with a concessionaire company. Mm-hmm. So we started meeting with them and vetting them. And eventually Hell's Kitchen didn't get their bid and they didn't know if they really wanted it. So they were out, but we were in, and it was a very interesting process. I can tell you I could not be a politician. It was very political. Lots of like meet and greets and handshakes and talking to people and getting people to know who you are and why they want you.
And I'd have to imagine they probably work with a lot of really big players.
Yes.
And so they're probably not used to operating with someone who's a locally owned business with a single location, independently run and operated. They're
young female who does not look like a professional in any way.
Yeah, they're probably used to dealing with like literally a company's politician. Like this is the person that goes in and meets with those concessionaires.
Absolutely.
And that's their job and that's all they do. And they know how to play the game.
I know those people well now, and that is what they do. They travel the country. Literally, they are the concept team. Like they go and they pitch concepts and they do stuff to get new locations. And so we were in it, and part of the big push that time, as you will now see with the airport, is the woman who's running all this stuff at the time. She was really, really pushing for local small concepts. She ended up, after all of this, like she ended up winning like best airport in the country a couple of times because she crushed it. Like really,
it's way ahead of its time for that.
Yeah, and if you travel to some other airports after being in MSP, you're like, man, I'm so spoiled.
Hope you like Auntie Anne's.
Yep. Yeah. Like I remember being stuck in New Jersey for a while. I was like, God, this is
looks like I'm getting a Dunkin' Donuts breakfast sandwich.
Yeah, I did. I think I did get one.
It's because your options are like, well, do I get a McDonald's breakfast and
do I get like pizza at 8 a.m.? Like, okay, here's my choice. So at the time they were pushing local, but there's also a lot of like financial, obviously, like people want to make money.
Yeah.
There was kind of our package is what they call it. Like people bid on packages. So like our package was 3 restaurant locations in one thing. Basically, like if you think of a prime location at an airport, everybody passes it, everybody sees it, everybody wants that spot. But then think of like the end of Concourse C. Mm-hmm. Nobody's going down there. Nobody wants that little space down there. So they link those together. So in order to win the big guy, you got to like take on the little shitty spot too.
That's actually
Kinda
really smart.
So our package had 3 locations, and we had pitched this great package with Angel Food and Smack Shack being a local like lobster roll place, and then the Twin Sports Bar Grill, and we went up against a package that I will not name names, but they were very, very like big national just chains. Mm-hmm. And it kind of went, like kind of turned into a tie vote. Like there's a concessionaires commission that votes on it, and it sort of tied it, and we had to go into this weird bidding thing where there's a room at the airport and there's the council's up there and everybody's there, and like the VP of national brands that like if you think of what is the donut shop that I'm competing against on a national level, like the president of that company is sitting there, and the president of a wing place is sitting there going against me. And literally you get up to a microphone in front of everybody and all the press and media is there, and you pitch why you should win this. And somebody got up there, and she got up before us, and she talked about, she's like, I know this little donut shop is a cute local place, but do you really think that they can handle this kind of I
was going to say, that must have been the argument.
Straight into basically trash talking me, and I'm sitting behind her, I'm like, like my like real professional partners are next to me, and they're like holding me back. I'm like, hold me back. I'm going to get her. And then I got up there, and
is this like a public thing, or like to opening the media and all that good stuff?
Yeah, the media is all there.
Oh, wow.
There's definitely a picture of us crying after we won, but
oh wow.
But like I had to get up. I'm pretty sure I blacked out. But I definitely said something along the lines of like, you ask for local award-winning concepts, you're not going to get it with them, but you're going to get it with me. And you ask for local operators who would ensure the quality stays high, and you're not going to get it with them, but I'm going to be there at 3 a.m. making donuts, and you know it's going to be good. And like, pitched them, and we ended up winning the vote by 1 vote, and I almost passed out.
Have you seen Old School with Will Ferrell? There's a scene. Is it Old School? Yeah. They have to. It's a stupid, hilarious movie though.
I will watch it.
They form a fraternity. They're a bunch of like 40-year-old men, but they form a fraternity, and they have to basically do like a full. Like 8 events to prove that they can be associated with the school, and one of them is a debate, and Will Ferrell just goes up and like gives the best debate ever, and then at the end he just goes, I don't know what happened, I blacked out. That's what I'm picturing.
100% that scene. I absolutely guarantee, like,
that's wild.
Just pure shaking. Like I couldn't. I was like sat down. And I was just shaking.
It sounds like something out of a movie.
Oh my god! Like what did I like? I went up against like the VP of like duty free.
Yeah.
Global company. And I'm like, oh,
and
did I just do that in my like hoodie? I just did that in my hoodie.
and they can say they want a small local concept, but then when you get to the end and it's a tie and you're like, oh, it's close.
Yeah.
It is a bit of a higher risk, higher reward to go with a small local versus this is an established brand. Because look, one thing I will never say is that Starbucks has a bad brand.
No.
I can say their coffee's bad, and I can be pretty confident about that, but they have one of the best brands in the world.
Absolutely, and they know what they're doing.
And so if it comes down to someone like that and a small local, you go, I get it. Their brand recognition, everything is going to pay for itself. It's going to be a steady whatever. It's not going to add value to it's not going to differentiate us in any way. It's not going to make our airport a better experience, but it's safe.
Even to this day, now that we're 4 years into being at the airport, you show an average traveler in America or the globe a directory, and you're like, do you want to go to Dunkin' Donuts or Angel Food? They don't know who I am. Mm-hmm. They don't know who we are. They don't know what we are. We don't even say donuts in the shop, in the name. Like it's a guaranteed win with a big name. Mm-hmm. I mean, I've been around the airport people long enough now that I know the saying is like, you want to win, put a Chick-fil-A in there. Like that's a guaranteed win. Mm-hmm. Cinnabon, no problem. So it is a huge risk, and that's one of the things I really applaud our airport for taking, because they took it with so many people, so many companies.
And do you think public perception of airport locations is changing a bit? Because I feel like if I saw somewhere that I didn't recognize, I'd be like, oh, this is probably just some airport only thing, or you know what I mean? Yeah. But now, because more and more airports are going that direction, I try to go out of my way of like, oh, hey, I couldn't get to the actual place while I was visiting, or if I'm just laying over, is there at least somewhere that I can't eat anywhere else?
I think so. I feel like I'm so in it that I don't have a good sense of it, but I think it is changing. I think people, definitely when we started, my number one thing is we have to prove to people that it's as good or better than our street side location, because you automatically assume it's going to be more expensive and it's going to be shittier version. Like that's a guarantee assumption when you go to the airport. It's like going to a stadium. You're like, well, I know it's a $10 beer. That's probably cheap now, isn't it?
I was going to say, that's a bargain.
Well, $15 beer. You just know these things inherently. And I think, actually, I could speak for stadium people too. They're trying to change that perception. So that was us. It's like our airport does this thing where they have regulations about pricing. So like if our donut costs $2.50 downtown, we are not allowed to increase the price more than 10% at the airport. So it's called Street Plus 10. So it used to be, if you have an airport location, you've got a captive audience. So people are like, $5 donut,
okay.
Like just jack up the price, which is why we're all used to paying $15 a beer at a Disney, whatever.
So is that a fairly new thing?
I don't know about it anywhere else. Just I know our airport implements that because they want to be price fair to their consumers. It does cost. Operating costs are a lot higher at an airport, so the 10% needs to be there to help cover the rent is so much more expensive than on a street side location, and staffing is more expensive and all that sort of stuff. But they're so conscious of like they don't want you to feel gouged when you go traveling.
Yeah.
which I think is really cool.
No, that is really cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I think my assumption always was just like, you just pay more. It's what you do.
Yeah. So,
So it's a nice surprise when you get something for a reasonable price.
If we have a 16-ounce Folly coffee downtown, we can't charge that much more for it at the airport. It's just a given so that you're getting the same product and you're not just getting ripped off.
Yeah. And the foot traffic, it's guaranteed.
Shh, don't say that. I know. I jinxed everybody. I'm so sorry.
Someday it'll be back.
I said for years, people were like, why would you get into the airport? I was like, it's just like guaranteed. It's the best, like almost guaranteed business you could possibly have. Like it will almost always be
as
there.
You were breaking a mirror over someone's head and then walking
under a ladder.
No, if anyone's jinxing this year, it's me. I was like, you know what? We should do office coffee. And then I'm so excited to be in the airport with Angel Food. And then 2020 came. No.
I know. Well, I mean, I also jinxed it because I've played it pretty conservative from a business standpoint, like slow growth, like manageable, like get out of debt right away. Don't take on more loans. Like don't buy $15,000 worth of branded coffee cups. Like you can use regular cups and put a stamp on it. Like it's fine. Mm-hmm. And then this year I was like, you know what? We're moving, we're shaking, we're doing it. Like this is my year to like take risks.
I think
it didn't work out.
I think the real people to blame are everyone who used any sort of hashtag about 2020 vision New Year.
Yeah.
I think that's probably
screw those people in their mood boards.
2020 vision. This is. I was thinking about this. It'll never be hard to remember what year this was. It really will never. It'll be instantaneous that you'll never have to think about what was that 2003 or was that 4? It's like no, it was 2020.
Yep. There are years that like don't register in my life, and this is not going to be one of those.
No, this will not be one at all. Yeah. And we can kind of end on this, but it's because when it happened, all of a sudden, you have to close shop. Airport obviously closed, and all of a sudden I am noticing that like you're working more than ever, and I'm like, what the hell is going on? And I'm texting you, I'm like, what are you baking? Like, what all are you baking for?
Where are your customers?
You texted me these gold belly orders that had come in, which is this online service where you're shipping your cakes and your donuts around the country.
Yeah.
And you're like texting me these order numbers, and I'm just like, so who's doing this? And you're like, I am.
Yep.
What was that like? Was it somewhat expected? And what has it been like working with Gold Belly? How have they been able to handle everything with this sudden increase in demand?
So it was not expected in any way, shape, or form. So a little over a year ago, I was accepted into a business incubator with Goldman Sachs and did this program. And part of the 12-week, it's kind of like a crash course MBA.
Was that the James Beard?
No, that was a separate. That was a separate thing, which was really cool. Win. No, I'm kidding. My mom thinks I'm just like a cocky asshole at this point. I'm like, sorry, Mom, I'm really not.
No, it's not cocky. I'm just stating facts about what's happened. Because I've known you for a little bit now, I just kind of forget. I'm like, oh shit, that's right. Yeah, yes. That's a separate. Okay, yeah, the James Beard.
The James Beard
program was women's entrepreneur program was a separate thing.
Yes, that was a separate thing, which led to this because I met somebody who had gone through it, and she told me about it. She's like, oh, if you like this James Beard program, then you should definitely do this. And it was a lot more intense and 12 weeks long, and they were like, plan on 30 to 40 hours a week on this program. And I'm like, I don't have 30 to 40. That's when I sleep. Okay. Okay, I'll find it. So part of the program is you had to create a growth plan for your business. And this is business around the country. Like there was one guy whose company flies drones to inspect bridges. It's not just like bakeries or women or anything. It's everything. So it was really cool to see okay, we had a woman whose company is Outlaw Soaps, and they make these really cool smoke Western inspired soaps. And so seeing how she grows and then being able to be like, what is she doing? How could I translate that to us? So part of my growth plan, I'm we don't really have any space, and I guess we could ship a couple a couple of things. So literally, if you see my numbers, I launched with Goldbelly. They're just like a food, kind of like their pseudo tagline is like they ship foods you've seen on TV.
Yeah, the way I perceive it is they take like iconic foods from different that you can only get regionally or locally, and you can now. So like I think the one that pops up on my Facebook a lot of times is like the Philly cheesesteak. You can get a Philly cheesesteak from Philly from Pat or Gino's.
And they ship it to you, and since you can't go to them, you get it now and that sort of thing. And so I had contacted them and set that up, and it was about 8 months of figuring all that out and test shipping and working on pricing and all that sort of stuff. And we launched in September, and my 3-year growth plan goal was to ship 10 packages a day every day of the week. So I was like, 50 a week sounds super cool. We're doing like 10 a week right now before this. Like, I don't want to, be realistic. So 3 years, back to conservative growth. And right away we went way past that. And so when COVID hit, we were doing like maybe 20, 30 a day. Like our biggest day was during Christmas, and it was like 98 packages. And all of us were like, whoa, bring in extra staff. Like I've got 15 people working for us. Like we can do this. And then COVID hit, and we had to close and let everybody go. And I was like, okay, well, I can at least do 20 things a day for Goldbelly, like by myself. That's still a lot of work, but we got to keep some money in paying rent. Like, sure, and maybe people want to ship things now that they can't go places. And it exploded. Like we were doing 200 a day, and it's just me baking and my husband helping to put stuff in boxes, and my mom would come in and start like taping shipping boxes, and it's insane. Like, but it's paying bills and keeping us hands down. I told Goldbelly, because they're phenomenal to work with, and they're like, sorry, we're exploding. Like we didn't know either. Can you handle it? And I'm like, you are keeping me in business. Yeah. You are the reason I will be here after, and without you, we will absolutely be on the list of closures. Like it's 100%.
It totally makes you question, just because when you think of shipping cakes, you're like, really? Is that a viable thing? And
I did not think people would like it that much.
It's crazy, honestly.
No, I agree. I am the person that is like, you can go get donuts at a local place almost anywhere, and they're going to be good. Like, why wouldn't you do that? But, we've got, the cool thing is we have these products that we've talked about.
Going all the way back to the unique products. I'm telling you, just having something that's like,
it's different.
And being the first one to do it, I think is really important too, because then it's like, that's your thing. And it's like anyone else that does it, it's kind of doing a knockoff of your original idea. Yep. And I think people catch on to that.
I hope so.
But that's wild. So how's it been? So we're going on month 7 here. Has this been the big, that this has been driving the business during COVID, is just Goldbelly orders and bacon by yourself?
Goldbelly, and it's just me by myself. We're starting to get some staff trained in and bringing them back every once in a while for training purposes. But I can do a lot. Like today was a really small day, and we had like 50 something orders. I was like, it was done in 5 hours. Like that.
Your original plan for a full week.
My original plan for a full week, and today I was like, piece of cake. Like that was a short day. I got to work out afterwards. I'm here. Like this has been one of my shortest days in the last 6 months. Like most days, I'm 12 to 15 hours long. Like it's nuts.
And now you're roping me into a CrossFit competition.
You brought that up. That's on you.
I know. But now I can act like you're roping me into it. No, that's for sure going to happen.
Okay.
I want to do that. I was actually talking to Nikki about it. I was like, are you cool if I rabbit hole on something else for a little bit now? And she's like, what is it? I was like, CrossFit? She was like, it's fine.
My friend Amanda, who would do the competition with us, she's like, does he even CrossFit? I'm like, he's the type of guy, I think, that when he says he will do it, he will figure this out.
Oh, no.
He will learn it. He will focus everything on it.
I'm going to really, really do this. Yeah, that brings us up on an hour.
Uh-oh.
Thanks for coming. It's totally arbitrary time that I just decided, I guess. Mostly because I usually have to start to pee after an hour. Oh, it's a big deciding factor, I think.
I can work for like 12 hours without going to the bathroom. I think that's why Chopped was so fun. I was like, it films 5 a.m. call time, and we finished around 11 p.m. And
really?
Yeah, all day. Like, you shoot a whole episode in a day. It's so long. It's exhausting.
What takes so long?
Just they have to reset cameras and interviews and clean the kitchen for the next round. And it's insane. But I mean, that's a normal day for me. And the other people, like really, the other people after 2 hours are like, oh, man, my back is starting to hurt. I'm like, what? I'm warming up.
Like, I haven't even worked out today yet. You're telling me this bakery doesn't have a gym? What kind of facility is this?
Yeah, what is this crappy studio kitchen?
That was the other best part, is all of a sudden you just have gym equipment in the bakery up in Fridley, and I'm like, what's going on? And I was like, you have the only gym right now.
Yeah. Well, so my husband and I both like to work out, and my best friends work out with me, and COVID hit and we lost our gyms. Like, it's not safe to go to them, and they all closed for a long time. And I had a barbell, and so each of us I had an empty garage, and I was like, well, I had a big industrial garage. Why not? And
all of a sudden you've got a full rack, and all of a sudden you've got all the equipment.
So the rack was already intentional. I found that on Craigslist for like $300, like literally 2 days before COVID hit and everything shut down. And that guy is probably kicking himself.
You could have gotten like 10 times that for the right
thousands
person.
of dollars a week later. And I'm like, hey, just sucker, it's fine.
Yeah. What? I was just like, after a month, I'm like, hey, can I come over? Can I come work out real quick?
Now we've got our own like little private CrossFit gym. You have to come back.
So what show do you think you'll be on next? Like, let's see, you did fashion, food.
Yeah.
Maybe you could get on like one of these like, maybe just like a more traditional, like Real World, and you're just like, I don't know what I'm doing here.
I want my own show.
Ooh.
But I don't know how to do that.
I don't either.
So that's out on the table. We were approached a few times as a bakery, but it never was really what I was looking for. What they were like, literally one time, and they were like, well, we kind of want like a Jersey Shore feeling, but with a food concept. I was like, that's not me. That's definitely not me.
It's like they almost want a dysfunctional business.
Oh, they absolutely. And then one really wanted a dysfunction, like a show where they were like, we want to show how Angel Food is pitted against Hell's Kitchen. I was like, well, that seems like a really bad business plan for a family. Like,
yeah, you're like, you want me to go against my mom?
we get along now, and I don't really want to create drama to not get along, so pass. But so I have a few concept ideas, but I don't know how to make it happen. Everybody says just make a YouTube channel. I'm like, I don't know how to do that or when. So.
Yeah, I just want to be the coffee guy Fieri, where I just go to different towns and I try their espresso and I just go, oh, this is the oil in the cars in Flavor Town. Oh,
yeah.
He's got the best life in the world.
Beantown.
Yeah, I keep DMing him and he won't respond.
I've met him. Do you want me to talk to him?
Yeah, Brian over at Hope Breakfast said he knows him too. I was like, the thing is, if I reach out, I've got to have something.
That's how I feel about a TV show. Something. Like I need to have like a concept and like a, what do they call it? What's the word? I want to say like a flaming reel, but that's not it.
Sizzler.
Yeah. Thank you. See, I was close.
I got a friend that works at Netflix. I seriously asked him. I was like, how does one?
Yeah.
Because coffee is getting popular enough, and I'm looking at like, so you see like the Somm documentary just like exploded. I'm like, people don't. Because one thing that did intrigue me about coffee is when I got into it, I didn't know it existed. And then all of a sudden you realize, oh, there's national competitions.
Who knew?
The barista one is like wildly popular within coffee, and most people don't know that exists. And then you go, there's the cup tasters that Jeff he's done really well in, and there's all these other competitions going on. There's this whole underground circuit that people just don't talk about.
And everybody's running out of things on Netflix.
Yeah.
So I feel like there's a coffee show. I feel like all of the big names, for Food Network are like getting kind of in the aging. Like they need some like fresh blood.
All right, maybe I should take a more serious approach to contacting him.
Yeah.
And
me too. So
here it is.
Coffee cruller donut.
And we
coffee
can
cruller
pit,
stat.
We pit against each other.
Yeah.
Coffee provider, bakery owner, and we hate each other.
Yes.
But gosh dang it, do I respect her
best
product.
Coffee and the best donut, so we have to go together. That guy. So the problem with that is I'm a bad liar, and I would not be able to act very well, and I would just giggle the whole time.
Well,
that's fine.
We'll take care of that in post. I don't know what that means, but
edit
we'll
that
out. I'll end the episode there and say have a nice day.